Hey, hey, thank you for making these. They are very nice. You're welcome. I need the sofa. Oh, you're gonna do the vlog, okay? Yeah. Hey, are you going to read the book today? Yep. Oh, goody. I've been waiting for that. Good. Give me 1 second. Hey, while you're setting up, yeah. Can I just go to the toilet really quickly? Yeah, I'll just set up and start. Come on, you're still setting up. No, I can't wait for you. I'll just take 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I'll just go and quickly come back. No, it's up to you, man. You can't wait 2 minutes for me. Because your 2 minutes are never 2 minutes. Your minutes are like half an hour long each. Alright, okay. Whatever, okay. I'll wait. You sure you can hold off that long? Yeah. I'm sure. Hey, I watched Endgame all the way through without going to the toilet once. Yeah, you did say that, yeah. I'm sure I can hold through your little vlog. Okay, alright. Let me set up and we'll start. Hi guys, welcome to the vlog. So today we go ahead with the story of the book, the ODM story, Altitudes and Attitudes. Okay, so if you remember, we had left our heroes, the ragtag team of 4, in Manali, where they were supposed to do the acclimatization, and that's where they made the biggest mistake of the trip. And that was not just a cliffhanger, it was, but also because that needs a little bit more explanation as to why that was a mistake or what was the mistake. So here we start today. So in order to understand the mistake, let me explain. This is a sidebar here in the book which explains what is high altitude, how it's defined. So altitude is defined as something like this: high 8,000 to 12,000 feet, which is 2,438 to 3,658 meters. Boring. I'll stick with the feet. Very high 12,000 to 18,000 feet, and extremely high 18,000 and above. Okay. So who will be affected by the altitude sickness cannot be predicted, since age, sex or physical condition do not really matter. Okay. Some people get sick and some don't. In a group of people, it is not possible to distinguish who will be able to take it easily and who will be susceptible to the high altitude sickness. Up to 8,000 feet, it's not very serious. Above that, one needs to be cautious and make sure that they are acclimatized before climbing to higher altitudes. High altitude sickness can be very serious, even life-threatening. Our ultimate target was above 18,000 feet, so we were going into extremely high altitude. Okay, so this is a picture of the 3 of us, Vijay, SB and me, and after finding the hotel, we found a spot to park the bikes, then refreshed and relaxed. In the afternoon, we went out. While the others headed out to sightsee, I started my hunt for a cyber cafe. I don't know if you still know what cyber cafe is, but it's like a coffee shop. It's like where you can go and access the internet for a price, obviously. So they used to be very popular in India, and these days not so much, because everybody's got the internet, especially on their mobile phones. So while others headed out to sightsee, I started my hunt for a cyber cafe. You might say that I'm addicted to computers, and checking my email after being away for almost 2 days holds top priority, especially with more separation from email expected in the days to come. However, at that moment, the top priority was my digital camera. Owing to my tight schedule before the trip, I had not been able to buy a bigger memory card for my camera. Therefore, I was now restricted to only 32 MB of space, which meant that I could only take 100 good photos, about 100 good photos. That was not going to be enough for this kind of a trip. Okay. Compared to the high capacity cards and high resolution cameras now available, my Olympus 1.3 megapixel seems prehistoric. Even now today, because we have 16 megapixel cameras on the mobile phones. At that time though, that was the best available to me, and it served me well during the trip. The only limitation was the small memory card. So I had devised a cunning plan. I would transfer the photos to other media wherever and whenever possible, thus reusing the card. Finding a cyber cafe proved to be easier than expected in most of the places that we visited. Finding the right cables, on the other hand, was another story. In Manali, I remember struggling with many computers because the cyber cafe has many and I could use any of them, whichever served my purpose. So trying to find a computer with the working COM1 and USB ports in order to transfer the photos from my camera to my USB stick. If that sounds technical to you, you can sympathize with the lad who managed the cyber cafe and thought that the tough part of his job was to give the customer exact change back. He did spend a lot of time with me trying to sort that problem out with different cables and everything available in this cafe. He put it at my disposal, and then finally we managed it. Okay, so chapter 4, preparing for the real test. This is a quote from Abraham Lincoln: "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe." Not bad. So this is what we did on this day. 15th of August 2004. Knock knock. Yes, one of us shouted. We were still sleeping. "Wo bike hata lo." Move the bikes. It was a hotel boy asking us to move the bikes from the narrow hotel passageway to the road outside now that it was daylight. So at night we had been able to park it in the hotel passageway right next to the main building. You will see that in the picture I'll show you. "It's bloody 6 o'clock, I mumbled as I went to get the key for my bike. I hate to be woken up early on a holiday, and today qualified as a holiday as we were not going to drive on today. SB and I, mumbling and grumbling, went downstairs and moved the bikes from the hotel driveway and parked them on the road outside. Sleep after that was impossible, so we decided to get ready and have breakfast. Manali, because it's in the hills, is a little bit cold, so nobody wants to get up early in cold climate. We had heard and read a lot about the various kinds of preparations and precautions required to be taken while making this trip, and today was the day to start them. Right after breakfast, we set out to get our bikes adjusted for the journey upwards. While driving into Manali the previous day, we had noticed a small garage right at the edge of the town, and that's where we headed now. And you can see a picture of the garage here, Karma Motors. One of the adjustments needed was in the air intake valve of the motorbike. So it had to be opened more to take in more air. The air up there is rarefied, and the valve rarefied, don't know. And the valve needs to take in more air to get the same amount of oxygen for the engine to burn. So it's an internal combustion engine, so it needs oxygen to burn the fuel. And up there, because there's so little oxygen, as you go higher there's less oxygen in the air, so it needs to be opened more so it can take more air and get more oxygen to burn. So you can see a picture of Widget Enfield going to the adjustments. There I learned with pride that my bike had an air valve that didn't need any adjustment. It automatically opened more depending on the air supply. So if you were going higher, it would open more to take in more air. Go Kinetic. Kinetic was the brand of the bike. Boy, getting those bikes tuned was a long task and boring. We could not contribute much with the mechanics while the mechanics were working, so I and SB went exploring around in the stream of water that happened to be flowing opposite the garage. I don't know what river that was, but it was good. I do love to act like a child when I'm out. So there's a picture of us, SB testing the waters. Well, SB was no mature grown-up either, and together we enjoyed exploring the scenery. I love taking photos, and though I know nothing about photography, I know a little bit more now. At that time I didn't. I had a digital camera where all you needed to know was to load the battery and where's the shutter release button, so even I could do a decent job. I don't give myself enough credit, but well, there you go. So this was a really big rock and SB really wanted to climb it, but the current of water was quite strong, quite cold, and we had no knowledge of its depth. So he had to be content with just this picture. So he didn't actually climb it. I just took the picture with him posing like that. The rock was so big that I had to take it in 2 shots and join them together later. Obviously, either my camera didn't have panorama mode or I didn't know how to use it. So the joining, you can see the joining, it's not really great. Okay, so here you can see that the stream was quite fast and strong. The water was so cold that dipping our feet in the water was something we could do only for a very short time, only for the photos. Finally, the bikes were done and we drove back to the hotel. That pretty much took our half the day at least. The rest of the day we spent walking around, sightseeing and enjoying Manali. There was one amusing incident that I must narrate here. We went for a walk and decided to have tea in this little restaurant down the road from our hotel. It was small, not very clean, looked unhygienic, and the tea was nothing to get excited about. But beggars can't be choosers and all that. And we did meet an interesting character here. This man was about 50, 55 years old, dirty and unhygienic, looking like that little tea shop, short in height, that is typical in mountain men, and an unstoppable mouth. What he said would be impossible for me to report verbatim without the entire book being taken over by it. He did talk a lot. But the main theme of his running commentary was that he was a mountain man and as such quite capable of walking or even running up the mountains while carrying children or baggage. But it was not for us because we were niche ke log. It means plains people, but literal translation means men from below. It's slightly derogatory, especially the way he said it. His conversation was replete with this one term, niche ke log. He was possibly trying to sell us his services as a luggage carrier. I'm sure that he neither knew nor cared what our mission was. This term niche ke log became an inside joke among us after that at any time we had altitude or mountain related issues. As I mentioned before, 5 to 6 days stay in Manali is advised for a person from the plains in order to get his body accustomed to the height and the dry mountain air before he should attempt to surmount greater heights. We knew that very well, but there was nothing for us to do in Manali and we got bored quickly. It was a typical Indian hill station with its various ways to separate honeymooning couples or rich foreign tourists from their money. There were sights to see, but we were not the sightseeing type. Here's another sidebar, acclimatization. The major cause of altitude sickness is going too high too fast. Given time, your body can adapt to the decrease in oxygen molecules at a specific altitude. This process is known as acclimatization and generally takes 1 to 3 days at that altitude. For example, if you hike to 10,000 feet and spend several days at that altitude, your body acclimatizes to 10,000 feet. If you climb 12,000 feet, your body has to acclimatize again. A number of changes take place in the body to allow it to operate with decreased oxygen. The depth of respiration increases, pressure in pulmonary arteries is increased, forcing blood into portions of the lung which are normally not used during sea level breathing. The body produces more red blood cells to carry oxygen. The body produces more of a particular enzyme that facilitates the release of oxygen from hemoglobin to the body tissues. So all these changes take place in the body when you stay at that particular height for a while, for a few days. And then you get used to it and then you're okay. But we were raring to go, itching for some action. Sleeping all day and looking at the little market in the evening wasn't going to keep us happy no matter what the count of days. So we decided to start the onward journey the next day. If only we had known the consequences. Seriously, if we had known, we would have stepped a couple more days there. Right after dinner, I went to another cyber cafe to do my digital offloading thing and then joined the others in the little market square. It was a lovely town though. It was a lovely Manali town, very nice. We spent some time in the little park situated in the market square enjoying our last evening in Manali and talking over the plans for the next leg of the journey. Then we went to buy some rations for the trip. Mainly we purchased 2 good quantities of chocolates, dry fruits and a quarter of brandy. None of us were a drinker, but we knew that when an infant catches cold, moms use half a spoonful of brandy in lukewarm water to warm up its system. Sometimes can be life-saving for a little child like an infant. Our journey was going to take us through some really cold terrains. The brandy was our insurance. As it happened, we never got to even open that bottle. That night we had trouble falling asleep as we were all very excited. A bit more? All right. So, chapter 5, the real journey begins. The real thing is not the goal. The real thing is the beauty of the movement. The real thing is not reaching. The real thing is the journey. Remember, the real thing is the journey, the very traveling. It is so beautiful. Why bother about the goal? And if you're too bothered about the goal, you will miss the journey, and the journey is life. The goal can only be death. This is from my favorite, Osho. And so true. So true. Part of the journey is the end, as Iron Man says in Avengers Endgame. So, 16th of August 2004. We started the day before the sun was high, intending to get a head start on the day. So, in the photo, you can see we are wrestling with the luggage ropes in the narrow hotel passageway as we get ready to roll out again. This is where we used to park the bikes at night. Okay. Today we are going to climb the fourth highest mountain pass in the world, Rohtang Pass. In the Tibetan language, Rohtang literally means a pile of corpses. Not a very nice mental image to start with, but oh well. Soon it became apparent that the tortuous mountain roads until Manali had been a picnic and the real challenge was just beginning. As soon as we gained some altitude, we found ourselves driving in a soggy, wet, foggy environment which were actually clouds. And the road had not been very good even when we started, but as we climbed higher, it got worse and worse. Soon we were driving on a road that was nothing more than a strip of mud with various sizes of submerged rocks. I'm not exaggerating in the least. One doesn't need to exaggerate about that journey. The road was actually mud deep enough to embed big stones. Following the buttered side down law, a slice of bread will always fall with the buttered side down. The rocks had a sharp edge up law. The rocks were embedded in the mud in a way that left maximum number of sharp edges visible. Our maximum speed on the road was about 30 kilometers per hour, but suddenly that had to be reduced to zero as we came to a halt behind a long line of stopped vehicles. Traffic on those roads stops usually for one of two reasons: accident or landslide. Here it was the second reason that had been holding up the traffic for past several hours. Our bikes being the smallest vehicle on road, we could progress a bit slowly by zigzagging between the stopped trucks, but it was not always easy. I vividly remember one place where the space between the truck and the edge of the road was so narrow. I vividly remember one place where the space between the truck and the edge of the road was only wide enough for one bike if driven perfectly straight, no margin for error. I let Fazil off before tackling this. On my right hand was the deep precipice, obscured by the clouds, but you could see the edge of the road dissipating into the fog. And the challenge was to keep the handle absolutely straight and keep going forward at a dead slow pace. And if you have biked, motorbike or push bike, you know that the faster you go, the easier it is to keep your balance, but the slower you go, the more you wobble. And there you had to go very slow and then keep the balance and keep the handle completely straight. Swerving to the left or right, even an inch, would have meant going down the side of the mountain. I think I held my breath through the entire process. Yep. Fazil followed me on foot and joined me on the other side in front of the truck. The first thing I told him was to remind me of that feat anytime I was scared to take a bold decision in my life. So far, he has never had to. We threaded our way between the trucks like this and finally came to face with the reason for the blockage. There was a huge pile of rocks on the road. Fortunately for us, there was a bulldozer at work cleaning the pile away even as we watched, and only a few more minutes of work was needed. There was nothing to do but wait. So, here we stop. It was good. I liked it. I have to go now. Ugh. Turn off the lights when you... Yeah, I'll turn the lights on. So, how did you like it? I hope you didn't fall asleep. Did you? This is my episode for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and meet me here tomorrow.